Hello again and welcome to the Memoir channel. Today I'm going to be speaking with Courtney Deane about her book, When Happily Ever After Fails. Now, this is not a memoir. This is a fictional story that Courtney wrote, but I wanted to interview her because I really like what she's done. And you'll have to just watch the interview to see what I mean. Okay, let's go for it. Hi, Courtney. How are you today?
Hi, Nikki. I am doing well. How are you?
Good, good, good. So I was already had told the viewers that this is not actually a memoir, because obviously we usually do memoirs, that this is actually a
Right.
fictional story. But I really like the fact that it sort of parallels your own story, and then you gave it an ending that probably you would have preferred. Am I right in saying that? Because I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I tried to give it, I think, the ending that Abigail deserved. I wanted to stay away from making this too much of a happily ever after story where, a guy comes in, saves the day, and gee, isn't
Yeah,
life grand now? So I wanted to really consciously make sure that the positivity that came in her life, that she was the catalyst for.
yeah.
So,
That she was
are there
that
probably
saying she was her own, she created her own happily ever after. It didn't have to be given to her
right,
by somebody else. Exactly, which is how it really
right.
needs to be done.
I
Right.
agree with that. At
Yeah.
the same time, the happily ever after would have been her parents were still here to see all of this, and so I
Right.
guess that's why I kind of paused
Right.
and was like, well,
So
not being
maybe,
able to undo something as permanent as death, that the ultimate happily ever after is just
right.
not going to
So
be there, which is real life.
maybe you can just fill people in on sort of what made you write this? Like what impelled you to pen this story?
Sure. So, without going into a 2-hour diatribe on my life,
Okay.
I'm an only child, and my father unfortunately passed away from ALS when I was 13,
Okay.
and my mom did a very very commendable job of taking care of him during that battle. Not an easy battle, as anybody who's been
Mm.
touched by that disease can
Hmm.
tell you. She did not do as well after that. She had a really unhealthy relationship with food, and that was kind of that had been a theme through her whole life. But I think that
Hmm.
really kind of spiraled out of control a bit. And then eventually I went away to college, and I think she kind of got lonely and maybe leaned on that resource too much. So
Right.
ultimately, she passed away when she was 55, and I was 28.
Wow.
Um, the book initially came about because I wanted to use it as a form of therapy. Um, I can be a believer in therapy. I think it certainly can work for people. In my experience, it hasn't been particularly helpful. That is not me saying people should not do therapy, but
Hmm.
I didn't find it was giving me what I needed, and I thought, well, gosh, I write in my day to day life. Why not write a story? And I'd always kind of wanted to write a book anyway. So I thought, yeah, maybe I'll use this as my own form of therapy, and can produce this book that puts some positivity and maybe some hope into the
Right.
world. And
Right.
maybe I will just feel so much better about everything
Well,
after
this, I
this.
mean, this is the gist I get from interviewing people that have written memoirs, that it's sort of this moment happens, and then when you write about it, it gives you a cathartic release, and you can kind of come to terms with this thing, and these big things that happen to us, and it's this lovely
Sure.
creative way of working things out. So I'm sure that it was cathartic for you too, right?
It was. It was. It did not solve everything in the way I was hoping it would, which
Hmm.
obviously was a very naive goal to have to
Right.
begin with. I was 28. But no, it was certainly cathartic. And I think for me personally, the best thing that came about it mentally
Hmm.
was that I was able to convey some of the thoughts I had on both of those deaths, and the way that people sometimes approach you, and
Hmm.
they think that they're helping you, or they think that they're making it better, and they don't necessarily
Wow.
know that they're making it worse.
Right.
And
So hard.
these people, they're well intentioned, nobody knows what to
Sure,
do, and
sure. They don't know
especially
what
if
to
you
say.
haven't dealt, they don't, it's not
Hmm.
it's not their fault, and everybody's different too. I I could teach a course on how you should approach me when dealing with the subject of grief. And the next person with the exact same deaths could say, I don't want that at all. You know, there's no master plan for grief or death or
And
healing.
so did you start writing at 28? Was it sort of an instant kind
I
of
did.
like, yeah, okay.
I did. It took
And I was just
a
going to
very
ask
long
you how
time.
long. Okay, how many years are we talking here?
Well, I will be 42 in February. The novel was finished, I think, in late 2019. And
Okay.
then COVID hit, and I thought this might be a good time to do something with it if you're ever going to. So then I started the journey to actually get the book published.
Yeah, okay. And how was that? How did you publish?
So I did do the traditional querying route first, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I think it's a hard process no matter
It's horrible. It's
what,
horrible.
when,
Yes.
yeah, no matter
Yeah,
when. Even a
exactly.
lot of today's really successful authors will tell you, I queried 100+ agents,
Yeah.
and 5 books later, that one responded. And not just that, but obviously this was during COVID. This was during a time of a lot of unrest within the country, and so I think the
Mm-hmm.
industry was also kind of trying to
Everyone
figure
was,
out.
they were all panicked. Everyone was panicked. Yeah.
Right. So I did try that route, and then ultimately ended up publishing with Spark Press, which I have been extremely happy with, and it has a wonderful sisterhood, and I can't say enough about how great that
Oh,
organization is.
oh, that is very nice to hear. Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic. So Spark Press. And
Spark Press.
so they did the cover for you, they did an edit for you, and then they probably put it into an ebook format. And
They did. They did
uh,
all of that. They handle book distribution, which is wonderful. It's funny. I mean, my whole career has been writing, but never on the book publishing side.
mhm.
So it's interesting how little I really knew about the process. So they've been very helpful with that, as has the publicity team, which is outside of
And
Spark
are
Press.
you, I
Spark
know
Press.
you're based in San Diego, I think.
Mhm.
And
San Diego, and then Vegas part time as well.
are they also based in San Diego?
No, they are not. Spark Press, I think, is in Arizona. I think right outside
Okay.
Scottsdale, and the
Okay.
publicity firm Books Forward is in New Orleans.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Again,
So
in this post-COVID world, I don't think we all need to be near each other. I certainly know I'm not near
no,
my writing clients, and it hasn't made a
right.
difference.
So okay, so you've just released it basically, right? It's brand new, right? It's just come out.
April 9th. It comes out April 9th.
And so it hasn't even come out yet.
Has not
Okay.
come out
All
yet.
right. Well, that's pretty exciting.
Which
So
I'm dying, because I want to say so much about it, and yet I don't want to ruin the book for people.
right. So maybe you have a website, and maybe it'll be on there where people can find out more if you're going to have an event or if you're going to do a book launch or something like that in case they're interested. Would
Yeah,
that,
absolutely. It's
yeah.
CourtneyDeane.com. And I am launching the first newsletter today, and try to stay active on the social media accounts as well. And I always say it's kind of just a lot of general tomfoolery and jackassery mixed with a little heart.
Yes.
But
Oh,
I
good for
do.
you.
They can be heavy subjects, but I like to keep it light
Yeah.
personally.
And now when you do write, do you like to be alone? Do you like quiet? Yes, you have to be at home and no noise?
Pretty much. I'm sure it's the only child in me.
Yeah.
I have a family now, but I am used to my solitary time. I can certainly be out in public and write emails or social media
Yeah.
posts, but when it comes to fiction writing and the serious stuff, no, I need to be in a quiet room by myself,
Right. Right.
preferably in a house by myself, preferably, which is not always the case with a 2-year-old, but we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then are you hoping this might get picked up and made into a film? I don't know if it's a storyline that could actually be made into a film. Is it something that would translate well to screen?
Um, I'm curious if anybody's ever said no to that question. So yes, I very much, I think, as a lot of authors hope and dream and pray.
Yeah,
Gosh, yes, I would love to see it picked up and turned into a film. And it's just like having a child. Everybody thinks their baby is special and beautiful and
of
will
course.
break every mold. And
Of course.
I I hope I'm not alone in this. If I am, it's probably going to make me a classic
No,
narcissist,
no,
but I would imagine that many authors
no, I think you're
do
quite
see
right.
some of the things on Netflix, or they do see some other works and they think, man, if that got picked up, come over here.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I was hoping you might read us a little segment, but I don't want to just drop that on you because you might not be prepared for that. But
I could be prepared if we are able to cut and I can go get the
sure,
book.
sure, sure, sure. Yeah, we'll
It would
just,
take me a second. Okay, I am ready
right,
when you
okay,
are.
I'm going to put you on speak of you. There you go. All you.
Okay, so here is just a little excerpt from When Happily Ever After Fails. People didn't move across countries, donate organs, or spend 2 months' salaries on seemingly irrelevant gemstones from Sierra Leone because love didn't exist. They didn't quit the dangerous hobbies they adored, get real jobs, or cohabitate with cats because love didn't exist. They didn't contort their too large bodies around hospital beds, throw themselves in front of live ammunition, or reach for their phones during their seemingly last few minutes in this universe because love didn't exist. Sure, hate, anger, resentment, and even ambivalence were powerful forces, but so was love. It may not conquer everything, but it sure as hell is a useful companion to have in your corner when that battle, whatever form it takes, begins.
All you need is love.
Yeah,
yeah. That's very lovely. Now, what advice would you have for people that are just starting out and maybe thinking of writing a book? Do you have any advice for them?
I do. This might sound rudimentary, but
Mm-hmm.
I would actually not write anything at first. And I would dive into the book writing process because
Mm-hmm.
that is certainly a regret that I had. I felt like I had made a career as a writer on the journalism and PR and marketing side. And
Uh-huh.
so I thought, well, I know what I need to know. I'm a professional writer. I get paid every day to write. And boy, did I waste a lot of time and headaches over really not understanding the formulas and structures when it comes to fiction writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would certainly recommend just take a quick step back. I know you're excited when you get a book idea. It's just like, I want to be full steam ahead. Take your notes,
Right.
make sure you don't forget anything. But I would do a little bit of homework and make sure you understand, based on your genre and your goals, what will kind of be expected of you in terms of what the book needs to deliver, when it
Mm-hmm.
needs to deliver it, and things like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
simple advice, but gosh, I wish I had taken that when I was 28.
Right. And did you have a starting point and a midpoint and an end point when you started? Did you sort of know where you were going?
I did generally. I know
Mm-hmm.
everybody talks about plotter, pantser. I'm definitely a plotter, and had a relatively detailed outline, but that didn't mean when I was writing scenes that all of a sudden it wouldn't start to go in this direction, or the dialogue would kind of take us here, and then I would add things in. And I will tell you, the first version of this book that I tried to query in 2020, it was 120,000 words, and
Oh,
it was
what?
riddled with flashback scenes and
Yeah.
just so much horrific stuff. And again, just not understanding the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. And so when you started sending it out, were people giving you feedback?
Yes, your book is too long.
It is quite lengthy, isn't it? Well, well done you for
Yeah.
writing so much. I mean, that's obviously you're pretty determined there, so that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was good feedback. And I will tell you, the first agent that told me that, I asked, if I go back and I cut this, will you reconsider? And they said yes. And I did. Ultimately, they said, I probably shouldn't have kept you on the hook. I really don't take on rom-coms to begin with,
Oh,
but great idea. But
yeah.
that is okay. It was good feedback. I did get a critique group going. Again, pandemic, what else do we have to do? So
Uh-huh.
me and three other lovely ladies would meet and share chapters from our books
Yeah.
and critique each other and provide feedback. And then I also did hire a developmental editor to kind of get it just across the finish line, that last little bit that gosh, she was just so amazing. And
Hmm.
I would certainly work with her again, because I think just her fiction minded brain really brought out what was missing in the
Hmm.
story.
Hmm. Oh, that's fantastic. Um, yeah. And And I mean, what was the most difficult part? I guess editing it down and just what
The editing wasn't too rough. In addition to being a writer in my day-to-day life, I'm an editor, so that really
uh-huh.
actually wasn't a problem, despite having to cut. I think our final version is 77,000 words. So gosh, 40
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
got
that's pretty
snipped.
good. That's like
Yeah.
a book in itself.
I know. And I've thought about going back and looking at that first version, and I just think cringe. Yeah,
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
what you don't know, they fill another 120,000 word book.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, do your homework.
And
Um, but
but
I thought writing the beginning, that whole kind of out of the gate, having to grab readers' attention, I struggled with that a little bit. It's one thing if you have like a James Bond type story or a murder mystery, and it's like,
mhm,
boom, we can hit them so hard from the get go. A rom com, and I'm not saying people don't have crazy strong out of the gate beginnings, but your main character is probably not a 20 something woman who's going to start off jumping from a building away from bad guys. So
right, right.
you have to kind of be strategic about how you're going to grab the audience, and that's probably the biggest lesson I learned in understanding the craft of fiction a little bit more.
Yes.
And that was my biggest struggle. We wrote the beginning.
It's getting
I
getting in.
say
Mhm.
we, I was the author, but the critique group, the developmental editor,
Yeah,
collectively we all contributed to this beginning. Gosh, so
yeah.
many times.
I remember I dated this one guy who was a writer, and he had this thing that he would go in a bookstore and just read the first 4 lines of any book to see if it, like,
I
got
mean,
him.
that's probably great advice.
And it was quite interesting
Yeah,
because you'll quickly see which books you're like, "Oh, I wanna know more," or like, "Oh, still don't quite know what you're
right.
saying here." But yeah, it's a good exercise. Yeah,
I
exactly.
yeah, I think people really authors new authors really underestimate how little time you have to grab
Someone's
somebody. And
attention. Yeah,
right, and you have to balance that too. That can get so in your head that you never get past that first page or first chapter because
absolutely.
you just never feel like it's good
'Cause
enough.
there's some books that really take quite a while, and then suddenly, and they're fabulous too.
Right,
So it's not, I guess, it's not a one size fits all. Um,
sure.
and do you think there could be a sequel to what you've written?
I think there could be. I have one in my head. Um, I still toy with it now and then. For some reason, I like to think about book plots when I walk my dog.
Uh-huh.
We used to live near this wonderful canyon system and preserves and all of that, and that was like the most picturesque place to get inspiration or work out what was bothering you in a scene
Hmm.
in your head. We still live in a lovely part of San Diego, but now it's very suburban, and
Hmm.
I don't want to say not as inspiring, but maybe our walks are a little shorter now. But I still like to think about these things when we're out there, and I do definitely have a rough outline of how that would go. For me,
Hmm.
it's not a done deal. I'd like to see how this first book is received, and I do have another
Sure.
book that is not the sequel that I'm working on right now, and I have a couple more in my head after that. But we'll see. If I feel like there's really demand for that, and people do kind of want to see where Abigail's happily ever after takes her, if she ultimately
Hmm.
does get one in
Hmm.
the end, I'd be ready to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. And any thoughts about actually doing a memoir?
I I thought about this question because I thought
Hmm.
it might be logical that you would ask me. And
Yes, sorry.
I that's okay. I think at this point I don't. And it's not because I don't like the genre or appreciate people putting
Hmm.
themselves out there. Obviously, I am trying to put my real life story out there in different ways, but
Hmm.
I feel like I'm kind of in the middle or in the beginning of a chapter right now. So I
Right,
don't think that this would be the right time
right.
to
You
do
need some
that,
more
because
time.
I really don't know where this story is going, or how it's going to end. And
Hmm.
I think it would be an odd place
Hmm.
to end something like a memoir. Down the line, I think certainly
Yeah,
it could be
I could
possible.
see
I'm
that for you
certainly an
because
oversharer, so it's not that I wouldn't have the content. I would.
no, but you're a good writer and you're obviously a deep thinker. And I
Thank
think
you.
since you've been
Thank
through
you.
something that's quite rare, I mean, not everyone loses their parents at a young age and they're a single
Right.
child. So you don't have any real support system. And then you have to go in and find it within you. And I think that's quite a rare thing. So a memoir would be a lovely thing for other people to see how you navigate. And so, anyway,
Sure.
I'm requesting if you could please write one at some point.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it certainly will be a consideration at some point. And
Yeah.
this is a balancing act too, because I don't mean to say that I had absolutely no one in my life. I had extended family, I had
Hmm.
friends, but like I said, I think people don't necessarily know how to support you. And um
It's your core, but it's that core connection that's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
very
So
difficult to
I
lose.
did do a lot on my own, and I have learned how to ask for help. And again, it hasn't been a linear, just successful
Sure,
journey. There's been
sure.
tons of bumps and tons of really, really dark times, and I think that those themes are not exclusive to me or to my
No,
situation. And
it's human.
everybody's pain is relative to them, and so I think that those are things that are really relatable. And that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to write this book, which obviously is somewhat lighthearted and humorous, and then at other points is very heartfelt. And I hope that people that have been through things, however traumatic they are, that they can see you're not alone. And
Hmm.
a lot of us feel
Hmm.
that we are kind of marooned on that island, and you're not the only one who feels like maybe the
Sure.
universe just keeps coming for you, and it is just so unfair. And if you feel that way, it's probably true, and it is. And unfortunately, we just have to take our hits and do our best to climb
Yeah.
out of it. But
Yeah.
that doesn't make your pain invalid at all.
No. Well, I mean, I really congratulate you on getting your book finished and getting it out there. And
Thank you.
I feel like you've done it really well. I mean, it sounds like you went to the best avenues, you got the best people. That's not easy to do. So
Thank you.
I'm
I was darn determined. I will tell you that. This was a labor of love, and obviously held very deep meaning to me. But
Mhm.
my end goal was to get it out in the world, and this has been a dream, obviously,
Mhm.
for a while now. So I did what I felt I had to do, and here we are. And now that the debut date is almost upon us, it's flipping terrifying, and very exciting at the same
Yeah.
time. We'll
Well,
see. I mean, it's about the rawest thing I can put out. So,
yeah, I'm excited for you because I think it's lovely. So I wish you the very best of luck come
oh, thank you, Nikki.
April
I
9th.
appreciate it.
And
April 9th.
yeah, I will absolutely make sure that I have all the information underneath this so everyone can come and support you and get your book. And
Laugh at my horrible selfies and
ah,
terrible dance moves on TikTok. I
oh,
have not
good.
danced yet on TikTok. I hope I never do. Every now and then I think, oh, that would make a good video, and it's like, don't dance, don't dance. So we'll see if that ever
And
happens or
are
not. I
you
don't know.
thinking at all of doing an audiobook?
I am. I am thinking about it.
Hmm.
I I am. I would like to.
Yeah,
Just a lot of things right now. It's
yeah.
on the longer
I
to-do
mean,
list, but yes, I would like to do one.
it's a big endeavor. I asked the one lady who had done it and she said it took 6 weeks, and I'm like, yeah, that's quite a long time. Um,
Yeah,
because you
I
can.
have heard a lot of authors say though that it has paid off, and they're so happy they did it. It's
I
just a matter of balancing all of these priorities, but it
yeah.
it, it is on the longer to-do list.
Yes,
Yes.
good. Okay. Well, again, best of luck. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. And
Thank you, Nikki. I really,
we'll
I really appreciate it, and I'm touched that you saw enough in my story that was compelling to include it on a
absolutely.
memoir channel. That really means a lot.
Well, I just love the fact that you've done something so creative with your own grief, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So,
I really
all right.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.